Welcome back to Leadership from the Kitchen. My name is Wendy Ellis Green with P31 Consulting and P31 Academy. If you have been following along with us in this series, your team should now be participating in client conversations through open air communication. But here's the next critical challenge. Are they communicating and delivering data, or are they generating insights that truly impact client decisions? Today, we're exploring the art of kitchen reduction. We're going to teach your teams to concentrate raw information into valuable insights that transform how clients think and act. Look at this transformation. When we make concentrated sauce or stock, we start with a whole pot of chicken stock, the bones, the vegetables, the herbs, the water. And after hours and hours of reduction, we get a small container of concentrated sauce. It was the same ingredients, but one is exponentially more valuable. This is what our team members can learn: how to take all of that raw data and reduce it into insights that pack an incredible punch. Professional chefs understand that reduction isn't about removing water. It's about concentrating flavor compounds. It's about intensifying impact, and it's about creating something far more valuable than what you started with. Your team members can learn this also, learning to reduce the data into insights that are more powerful than the original analysis. Watch the reduction process carefully. We don't just boil off liquid randomly. We are controlling the heat, and we're managing the time, and we're constantly tasting to monitor the concentration of the flavors. Did you notice those three critical elements? The first I talked about was heat management. If it's too high, everything burns. And if it's too low, nothing will actually concentrate. And then I also talked about the time. True reduction can't be rushed without losing quality. And then that constant monitoring and tasting. You have to taste throughout to know when you've achieved that right concentration. Let's think about how we can translate this for our teams. So heat management is putting the right analytical pressure to our analysis and our data. Enough intensity to reveal the patterns, but without destroying the nuance in the data. The time investment. True insights require patience and multiple iterations, right? Not just quick summaries. And that constant monitoring, that allows us to test our conclusions against project and business goals all throughout the process. But how do you know when your reduction is complete? Like, under reduced sauce is watery and weak, and over reduced sauce becomes bitter and unusable because it is burned. All of this also applies to generating insights from the data. Under reduced analysis is still mostly raw data with obvious observations in the data. Sales were down 12% last quarter. Okay. But then the over-reduced analysis, that gets you to the point where the analysis is so abstract that it's not practical anymore. There's no practical application. But that perfectly reduced sauce, that concentrated understanding that can drive action. Something like the 12% sales decline correlates with pricing increase in the premium segment, but your value customers actually increased purchases. So we would recommend that you expand your lower tier offerings. Now that is actionable insight. How do we teach our team the reduction process in business? To begin by gathering quality ingredients. All right, so help them understand that insight quality depends on data quality. You can't make a great sauce from poor ingredients. And then you might move to applying that analytical heat. Teach them to ask questions about the data and push them to points where they're asking questions like, what's really driving this pattern that I see in the data? And what would happen if this trend continues? Or what does this mean for our client that's about to make a decision about X? And then there's the tasting, the monitoring and tasting. We should be testing our conclusions against the backdrop of the goals of the project. Is this actionable? Am I missing a critical context piece here? Also, they have to know when to stop. Help them recognize when they've achieved the perfect concentration, where the insights that they have found are both profound and practical. So, different types of insight require different reduction approaches. Strategic insights are slow, they're long, but they reveal deep patterns and implications. On the other end, tactical insights are fast and focused, and they concentrate on immediate action intelligence. But then there's the diagnostic insights. They are careful reductions that isolate the cause and effect relationships in the data. And then there's the kind of like the flip side of that, those predictive analytics. These are complex because they concentrate on trends and looking toward the future and the implications out there. Your role as a leader is to guide the reduction process. So in the early stages, you might ask your team, what patterns are you starting to see in the data? That's the early stages of them doing the work. But as you get a little bit more mature, you might ask a question like, how does this connect with what the client is actually trying to achieve? And when they get to be even more mature, what decisions does this insight allow our client to make that wasn't possible before? But we also have to check them. We have to do quality checks. Think about asking questions like, if you could only tell the client one thing from this analysis, what would create the most value for them? When your team masters insight reductions, clients start calling them directly because they want their analytical perspectives. They begin to analyze complex market data and communicate that clearer and be able to actually offer some strategic direction with it. That data also becomes a competitive advantage. Their analysis becomes a competitive advantage. But most importantly, your team members become confident and they are known for generating insights that are valuable, and that those insights that maybe other people didn't see. Those insights that are those concentrated bits of wisdom that help clients navigate uncertainty, but with confidence. But how do you know when your team has mastered this insight reduction? They can distill complex analysis into clear, actionable recommendations. And their insights are consistent. And they may even surprise your clients with some new perspectives. They also know when to stop doing the analysis and start developing recommendations. And probably the most proud thing from a leader is the clients call them directly and ask for their opinion because they trust it that much. So your leadership challenge for this week is to choose an upcoming project or analysis and work with your team member through the reduction process. Help them move beyond that high level, just findings analysis to true insight generation. Ask them questions like, what decisions does this enable? And what can our client do differently based on this insight? Great chefs know that reduction concentrates flavor into something more valuable than the original ingredients could give it. But great analysts know this too, because they understand that insights are concentrated data that transform their clients' decision-making process. So until next time, keep cooking up great leadership by teaching your team to reduce data into insights that truly matter.